The man accused of murdering vice worker Emma Caldwell faces sexual violence and assault raps against 27 more women, legal documents reveal. The case against Ian Packer called before Lord Beckett at the High Court in Edinburgh, where his lawyers submitted a not guilty plea to 46 charges, including 1 charge of murder and 11 rapes, spanning 26 years. The 50-year-old wasn't in court for the hearing due to issues getting him transported from Barlinnie Jail, where he is being held on remand. Prosecutors claim he strangled Emma, 27, in woods at Biggar, Lanarkshire, in April 2005. Court papers reveal he is accused of attacking 5 other women at the same remote spot. Packer is accused of killing Emma, 27, by restraining her, seizing her wrists, compressing her neck with his hands and a cable, and strangling her. The charge states he acted with intent to rape her and did murder her. He is also accused of a bid to pervert the court of justice. His brief, Ronnie Rinucci Casey, told the hearing that his client pleads not guilty to all charges and that he would require 4 months to get up to date with the case. He said, "Mr. Packer pleads not guilty to all the charges on the indictment as the defense is not ready for trial at this stage. We will require at least 4 months until our inquiries are complete. There are no special defenses lodged as yet, but I suspect there will be." Documents claim he disposed of vice worker Emma's naked body, her mobile, clothing and personal belongings by means to the prosecutor unknown. It's claimed he then cleaned a car's interior in an alleged bid to conceal and destroy evidence. Packer's also accused of indecently assaulting Emma in August 2004 at London Road and Green Street, in Glasgow's Calton. 5 of Packer's alleged victims are described in legal papers as now deceased. Prosecutors further claim one Linefield Woods complainer was attacked between September 1, 2004 and March 31, 2005. The charge states he presented an imitation firearm at her during an alleged sex assault. It's claimed another woman, who has since passed away, was indecently assaulted at the site between January 1 and June 30, 2005. A different female, also now dead, was said to be victim of an alleged indecent assault and rape at the Woods between December 1, 2005 and January 9, 2006. An alleged 4th attack victim was claimed to have been targeted by Packer several times at the Woodland between July 20, 2000 and April 1, 2005. It's alleged she was also attacked in a motor vehicle at Pollock Park, Glasgow, and at the entrance to a field near Glasgow Airport during the same period. An alleged attack on a 5th woman at Linefield Woods is said to have happened between January 1 and April 30, 2010. It's claimed Packer committed rape to her injury and did compress her neck and restrict her breathing. Court papers claim the same woman was subjected to a similar alleged sex attack there in December 2010. Packer is said to have committed sexual offenses against a further 22 women from July 1990 to May 2016, including indecent and libidinous practices towards a girl of 14 and 15. And he's accused of assaulting 3 men between February 2008 and October 2011, plus punching a boy, 15, on the head between June 1992 and June 1993. Earlier this year, lawyers acting Packer tried to have him released from custody at the Sheriff Appeal Court in Edinburgh. However, Appeal Sheriff William Holligan refused to grant him bail. Today, the judge allowed applications that will ensure the deceased women's evidence will be heard. A trial was set down for 11 weeks and is scheduled to take place on January 15, 2024, and the judge urged the legal teams to agree as much evidence as possible. Lord Beckett said, "This is a very lengthy indictment and I would urge both parties to agree as much evidence as possible. It is a lot to ask of a jury to go through a long trial, and it's not in the interest of justice." A further preliminary hearing was set June 2, 2023, at the High Court in Glasgow. This is the murder mystery which shocked a nation with the disappearance of a schoolgirl feared murdered and turned into kebab meat. Charlene Downes went missing from her hometown of Blackpool in Lancashire on November 1, 2003. She was just 14. Nearly 20 years later, and police are still no closer to solving her murder. Police initially treated Charlene's disappearance as a runaway teenager, but it soon became clear something more sinister had happened to the tragic teen. It was later revealed that she had been a victim of sexual abuse near the location where she was last seen in November 2003. Police investigations revealed that at least 60 schoolgirls were groomed for sex by takeaway workers. They who would ply their young victims with food, alcohol and cigarettes in return for sexual favors. In 2006, Lancashire police said Charlene had been murdered, but the force is still no closer to finding her body nearly 2 decades after she went missing. Charlene's mum Karen last saw her on November 1, 2003, at 7:15 p.m. Karen kissed her daughter goodbye at a bus stop on Church Street where Charlene was on her way to meet friends in the town center. Charlene told her she was going to the arcade and wouldn't be home late. She met up with her friend and they then walked towards the promenade, heading for the Carousel bar on North Pier. Charlene is then spotted on CCTV just after 9 p.m. outside a Blackpool bar on Talbot Road with a woman wearing a 3/4 length black coat. The next day, when she failed to return home, Charlene's family reported her as missing. Officers from Lancashire Police took more than 4,800 witness statements and there have been 10,500 lines of inquiry generated during the length of the inquiry. 2 decades on the case remains unsolved despite a £100,000 reward. In 2007, a takeaway owner Iyad al-Batiki was accused of murdering her while co-worker Mohammed Riveshi was alleged to have helped to have dispose of her body. At their trial, the jury heard how Charlene's body was chopped up and turned into kebabs at Funny Boy's fast food shop in Blackpool. It was believed that Charlene could have been targeted because of the dark secret she was believed to be hiding. But the charges against the 2 men were withdrawn after the jury failed to reach a verdict. Lancashire police renewed their appeal for information about Charlene's whereabouts on the 13th anniversary of her disappearance. Detective Superintendent Andy Webster said in 2016, "It has been 13 years since Charlene disappeared, but we are as determined as ever to find her killer or killers." 2 men were also arrested and questioned by police for historic sex offenses in 2017, but police confirmed there was no suggested direct link to Charlene. In the same year, detectives finally released the only CCTV footage of her on the day she vanished, after it lay unnoticed on police shelves. The family of Charlene have since criticized police for a bungled investigation as a probe was launched into breach of duty. Karen launched a lawsuit against the force in July 2017 seeking a public apology. Police watchdog IPCC referred the case to the Lancashire Police Commissioner and the force's Professional Standards Department in November 2017. In 2019, the heartbreaking case was featured on Channel 5 documentary, Vanished, The Murder of Charlene Downes, where it re-examined the case in the hope new leads could be found. There was more heartbreak for Charlene's family back in 2021 as her younger brother was found dead. Robert Downes, 30, was found in a pool of blood at his Blackpool home on December 4, just a few hours after complaining of feeling unwell. Robert, a father of 4, had gone to a football match with his dad at Blackpool FC's Bloomfield Road Stadium where he worked as a steward. Shortly after arriving there, however, Robert complained of feeling ill and left. He returned home at 6:30 p.m. and fell asleep a short time later in an upstairs bedroom, which was the last time he was seen alive. His father later discovered him unresponsive on his bedroom floor at home surrounded by blood. Paramedics were called to the house and Robert was pronounced dead at the scene, while his death was not believed to be suspicious. In 2002, Ward Weaver III went on TV and proclaimed his innocence in the disappearances of Ashley Pond and Miranda Gaddis, while standing on the very spot where he'd buried Pond. In August 2002, Francis Weaver, the son of Ward Weaver, contacted Oregon City Police to report his father had raped his 19-year-old girlfriend. Francis Weaver's girlfriend had escaped his father's house practically naked, flagged down a passing motorist, and been taken to a nearby place of safety. But there was one more thing Francis Weaver wanted to report: his father had also just confessed to killing 2 missing girls. The 2002 disappearances of Ashley Pond and Miranda Gaddis in Oregon City shone the national spotlight firmly on Ward Weaver. He lived just up the street from the missing girls, and in a July 2002 TV news interview, Weaver would stand right on the concrete slab where he had buried one of them. And the lead-up to Weaver's arrest for the murders of Pond and Gaddis would reveal a chilling family history of violence. Ward Weaver's father, pictured, was a convicted double murderer himself. Born on April 6, 1963, in Northern California, Ward Weaver III was raised in an earlier generation of Weaver family violence. His father, Ward Weaver Jr., practically abandoned him at age 4, and Weaver's mother remarried a heavy drinker who often beat Weaver with his belt. Weaver would in turn take his frustrations out on his younger siblings, frequently beating his younger stepbrother, and inflicting cruelty on his youngest sister, who couldn't recall a time when her brother wasn't hurting her, according to reports. In April 1981, a relative accused Weaver of rape, but he had just enlisted in the Navy, so police did not pursue charges. By May 1982, Weaver was other than honorably discharged and brought his Philippine girlfriend home, marrying her in August 1984. The couple would have 4 children, and Weaver's pattern of control and violence would continue throughout their relationship. The couple moved to Bakersfield, California, with Weaver hoping to reconnect with his father, who was on trial for murder. In 1981, Weaver Jr., a truck driver, stopped for a broken-down couple's car, beat the 18-year-old to death with a lead pipe, and kidnapped his 23-year-old girlfriend. Weaver Jr. repeatedly raped her on the way back to his California home. More disturbing, sometime later, Weaver Jr. strangled the woman when she bit his finger, then had his 10-year-old son help dig a hole under the pretense of a broken sewer pipe. Weaver Jr. covered the woman's body with concrete and built a wooden deck over the space. Receiving the death sentence for his crimes, Weaver Jr. started a chain reaction of Weaver murders. And his method of corpse disposal would chillingly echo with the crimes of his son. Ashley Pond disappeared on January 9, 2002, and her friend, Miranda Gaddis, vanished just 2 months later. In August 1997, Ward Weaver, twice divorced, rented a house at 2507 South Beaver Creek Road in Oregon City. Weaver's 12-year-old daughter, Mallory, hung out with 2 school friends, 12-year-old Ashley Pond and 13-year-old Miranda Gaddis. The 3 school friends were members of the same school dance class, and Weaver's daughter had regular sleepovers with Pond, Gaddis, and other friends at the Weaver house. The neighborhood girls walked past Weaver's house toward their school bus stop, and sometimes Weaver even gave Pond a lift to school when she was running late or missed the bus. In late 2001, Pond accused Weaver of attempting to rape her in his house. And while the incident was reported to police, no charges were filed. That summer, Pond had lived in the Weaver home to escape her own chaotic home life. Tragically, Pond and Gaddis had both endured sexual assault in their homes, Pond from her father, Gaddis from her mother's boyfriend. On January 9, 2002, Pond disappeared into thin air while walking to the bus stop. Media crews swarmed the street as weeks passed without her return, and the FBI entered the case. Meanwhile, investigators learned the criminal history of the man living at the top of the street, including violence against his 2 ex-wives. On January 23, a media crew interviewed girls waiting at the bus stop, including Miranda Gaddis. Then, on March 8, 2002, Gaddis herself vanished. The girl's disappearance drew national media attention and even an episode of Unsolved Mysteries. Ward Weaver gives an interview to the local news station while walking atop the concrete slab where he buried one of the missing girls. Intense media scrutiny fell on Ward Weaver as his suspicious presence played out on news TV broadcasts. Police searched his house to no avail. News cameras showed FBI sniffer dogs around his property and the presence of a jacuzzi ready for installation. Weaver downplayed it all, then on July 3, 2002, agreed to a KATU TV news interview inside his house. Bizarrely admitting to be the FBI's #1 suspect, Weaver gave the reporter a tour of his house, discussing the girls' sleepovers, with a People magazine on the girls' disappearances in view. Then, Weaver led the reporter outside, walking over a new concrete slab recently poured in the rear yard. Weaver said he was installing a new jacuzzi. "The last time I checked, that wasn't against the law," he said. In August, suspicions of Weaver intensified when he told a news crew he planned to move away from Oregon, and cameras captured him entering his house with his son's girlfriend. Then, on August 13, Weaver was arrested for raping the young woman, and Francis Weaver told police his father had confessed to the missing girl's murders. With Weaver in jail, his landlord placed eviction notices at the house, and in the backyard shed, noticed many flies near a pile of cardboard boxes. On August 14, TV news cameras captured Pond's stepmother taping a sign to the concrete slab in Weaver's yard, reading, "Dig me up." Turning to a reporter, she said, "Did you notice the smell walking up the pathway?" "I did. That's all I have to say." The FBI obtained a search warrant on August 23, sealing off the property. Tents covered the area of the shed and the concrete slab, as residents and news crews looked on. The next day, as a medical examiner's van entered the property, the news reporter who had interviewed Weaver broke down during a live broadcast. The family's worst fears were confirmed as the FBI discovered the body of Ashley Pond in a cardboard box in Weaver's shed, and Miranda Gaddis's body was discovered in an oil barrel beneath the concrete slab. Just as Weaver's father had duped another son in 1981, Francis Weaver helped dig the hole for his dad, thinking it was for the jacuzzi. The Weaver generational crimes had come full circle. On October 2, 2002, Ward Weaver was indicted and charged with 6 counts of aggravated murder and various counts of rape and sexual abuse. And, in September 2004, to avoid the death penalty, Weaver plea bargained, admitting to 2 charges and no contest to the rest. He was still sentenced to 2 life sentences without parole. In 2009, to gain closure, Miranda Gaddis' younger sister visited Weaver in prison, where he admitted to murdering Pond and Gaddis with his bare hands, telling her he had planned to murder her next, but she was too young at the time. On February 17, 2014, Weaver's son Francis and 3 others were arrested and charged with murder for allegedly robbing and killing a drug dealer, according to reports. Francis Weaver's mother also revealed he was not the biological son of Ward Weaver. Far too late, Francis was already condemned by the Weaver name, and was sentenced to life in prison without parole in 2016. More than 37 years after Benny Scruggs was found stabbed to death in his bed, officials have filed a murder charge in the case. Donald W. Meyer, 60, who was serving 15 years in prison for 6 counts of stalking, is facing a charge of first-degree murder for the July 17, 1985, death of Scruggs, who was a 28-year-old baker from Wisconsin Rapids. According to the criminal complaint filed Friday, Scruggs and his wife went out to drink at Lance's Never in the night of July 16, 1985. The babysitter they hired to look after their young son told police the couple was in an unusually good mood when they got home that night. At 3:01 a.m. July 17, 1985, a neighbor called police and said Scruggs was moaning, bleeding, and full of blood, according to the complaint. Scruggs' wife, Yvonne, had called the neighbor to ask for help after she found her husband bleeding in their bed. Yvonne Scruggs told police she and Benny had gone to bed, and he fell asleep. She got up when she heard their son crying and went into her son's bedroom, according to the complaint. She said she stayed in the boy's bedroom for about 10 minutes, but then something didn't feel right, according to the complaint. Yvonne Scruggs said she walked into the kitchen and saw a shovel leaning against her refrigerator and an open door. She said she became alarmed because she was in the habit of always locking the trailer door before she went to bed at night. She walked into the bedroom and found Benny Scruggs lying in a pool of blood, according to the complaint. A coroner declared Benny Scruggs dead at the scene. A forensic pathologist determined someone had stabbed him once in the chest. The pathologist, Dr. Robert Huntington III, who has since died, described the murder weapon as one hell of a big knife, like a butcher knife. Huntington determined Scruggs was stabbed in his sleep, because he had no defensive wounds on his hands or arms. The knife went in parallel to his rib cage, through his left lung, out between 2 vertebrae and into the final layer of skin on his back. A butcher knife was missing from the Scruggs home, and police never found it. Police drained a pond near Pioneer Village, the mobile home park where the Scruggs lived, but didn't find the knife. Meyer told police and witnesses that he had an affair with Yvonne Scruggs prior to the murder, and she had told him to get rid of Benny Scruggs if Meyer wanted to be with her, according to the complaint. Meyer denied being the one who killed Benny Scruggs. Meyer was charged in 2005 with 2 counts of threatening a Wood County judge. A jury found him guilty of the charges in 2006. After Meyer began contacting jury members who had convicted him, he was charged with 10 counts of stalking, and a jury convicted him of 6 counts. While Meyer was in jail awaiting trial on the stalking charges, he reached out to the Wisconsin Rapids Police Department and said he wanted to talk about the Benny Scruggs homicide. Meyer told police he didn't commit the murder but was the key to solving the case. During his time in the Wood County Jail and in the Wisconsin prison system, Meyer talked to fellow inmates about the Benny Scruggs case, according to the complaint. One inmate said Meyer waited outside in the trailer park and saw Benny and Yvonne Scruggs come home. The inmate said Meyer told him he knew Yvonne Scruggs would be in her son's room in the mobile home. Meyer told another inmate he went into the mobile home, entered the bedroom and stabbed Benny Scruggs. Meyer said he then went home, got undressed, took a shower and threw his clothes and the murder weapon into the garbage. Meyer said he picked that day to commit the murder because he knew trash would be picked up first thing in the morning. Meyer told an inmate the trash collectors picked up the garbage with the knife in it while police were still at the scene investigating. Yvonne Scruggs died November 13, 2015, in Eagle River, according to the complaint. After her death, Meyer told a witness that police would never find the knife, because Yvonne Scruggs was dead. Another inmate said Meyer said he had sexual intercourse with Yvonne Scruggs the night before he killed her husband. A prison inmate also reported Meyer talking about having killed Benny Scruggs. The inmate said it seemed like the murder was eating Meyer up inside, and talking about it helped. The inmate said he heard Meyer talking on a phone and telling the person on the other end he was glad Benny and Yvonne Scruggs both were dead. Detectives were able to confirm the telephone conversation during which Meyer told his mother he was glad Benny and Yvonne Scruggs were dead. Assistant Wisconsin Attorney General Robert Kaiser is acting as a special prosecutor in the case. Meyer, who is in the Racine Correctional Institution in Sturtevant, is scheduled to make his initial appearance on the murder charge Friday. If convicted, he faces a maximum of life in prison. The Wisconsin Department of Justice Division of Criminal Investigation helped the Wisconsin Rapids Police Department with the case. It's been nearly 25 years since 19-year-old Jennifer Brinkman was found dead by her father in the bedroom of her Washington home after a violent axe attack. On Monday, Marysville police finally arrested the man they believe killed her, a now 52-year-old man whom Brinkman met through a popular dating chat line in the 1990s. Solving this case has been at the top of the priority list of the Marysville Police Department for the past 24-plus years, Marysville Police Chief Eric Scarpon said in a release. "We never gave up, or put this on a shelf. It was continuously being investigated, with the belief that we would one day be able to bring some level of closure for the family and justice for Jennifer." Detective Sergeant James Maples, of the Maryville Police Department, said at a press conference that Jennifer was found dead in the bedroom of her home on March 21, 1998 after her father and his then-girlfriend returned home from a vacation in California and made the grisly discovery. Brinkman had been struck in the neck with an axe, which was left behind at the murder scene. Evidence, including the axe, was sent off to the Washington State Patrol Crime Lab, and as DNA technology advanced, analysts were able to identify a DNA profile left behind at the murder scene, referred to as Individual A, but for years investigators didn't have anyone to match the sample to. Jennifer was a social individual, Maples said. She encouraged conversation as she would go to the library, walk around town. She engaged in telephone chat lines, dating sites, and actively sought companionship in people. Marysville Police Detective Wade Rediger said investigators got the break they needed after partnering with Virginia-based Parabon Nanolabs. Through the use of genetic genealogy, the company was able to provide investigators with a list of possible suspects. One of the potential suspects was an individual that was already on the department's radar. The suspect, who wasn't named by police, had met Brinkman on a popular dating chat line. Rediger described the chat line as a service where people could call in and be connected to another random person. "Through that you kind of talk over the phone," he said. "They could repeat over a series of time. Sometimes they transition to letters, sometimes they would transition to an in-person meeting, sometimes they would fizzle out and end right there." Rediger said after meeting through the chat line, the suspect attempted to meet Jennifer and had sent her a letter just prior to her death. However, when the suspect was questioned by detectives earlier in the investigation, he denied ever knowing Jennifer or having met Jennifer. Armed with the new DNA analysis, investigators were able to secure a court order for the suspect's DNA. Rediger said it was a match to evidence left behind at the crime scene. At the time of the murder, the suspect lived approximately 3.5 miles from Brinkman's mother's house, authorities said. Shortly after his arrest, he invoked his right to remain silent, and Rediger said investigators still do not have answers to why Brinkman was killed. Even without a known motive, the arrest provides some closure for detectives who have worked the case for more than 2 decades. "It's hard to put into words," Rob Lamoureux, the investigations commander for Marysville Police and the original detective on the case, said Tuesday of finally making an arrest. "It's one of those things where it never leaves your thought process because it's unsolved." Brinkman's father died in 2013, but detectives were able to give her mother the news that an arrest had finally been made. "She was extremely emotional," Lamoureux said. "She cried and was very thankful for the work that we put into it." The suspect is currently being held at the Snohomish County Jail on charges of first-degree murder, according to jail records. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe and like the video, and click the bell icon to stay tuned.